What would the world be like if we still believed in Greek mythology? Would the world be the same as it is? Would people have a certain god that they worship over others? Would technology and science be seen as a contradiction to the gods? How would these people react to the idea of believing only in one god? Well, let's find out. Clash of the Titans would be the most controversial movie of all time. More so than the original, this version took pretty exceptional liberties to the Greek myths, and the original wasn't totally faithful either. Perseus' mom, Danae, is now Arceus' wife, not daughter. Hades killed Perseus' adopted father and now controls the Kraken. Zeus gives Perseus his sword and then is punked by Hades and needs human help. Perseus bails on marrying Andromeda. Oh, that's an interesting take on it for sure. Let's look at another one. Really weird. Homosexuality wouldn't be as controversial, I think, since the ancient Greeks did not have a problem with it. Would it? The next one's quite funny. My kids would probably have different names. I'm dead set on my firstborn son being named Apollo or Apollon. True that. The next one's a serious take on the question. Sacrifices all the time. Homeless people would constantly find shelter because of Xenia, the laws of hospitality. Hestia would become more well known because she's the goddess of the hearth. A lot of people are unaware that Greek mythology was a bunch of stories trying to explain each city's origin or unrecorded history, and its practices are very different from how people today practice the Abrahamic faiths. I wonder how different our world would be, but the next one contradicts this. I love this question. I believe civilization would be very much the same. There would be more focus on theology and philosophy, the arts would be highly regarded as sports, and I think that the biggest difference would be the advancement of technology. Yeah, they'd probably throw the best Olympics. Okay, the next two are really interesting. I thought I'd get beaten to a serious answer, but guess not. Let's say Paul of Tarsus gets crushed under a rock on the road to Damascus. Christianity just fades back in the constant torrent of Eastern mystery cults it rose from. For the next 300 years, probably nothing looks different. Different mystery cults vie for dominance among the Romans. The elite still go to Minos, Sol, Invictus as historical, and the rural population is still strongly pagan as historical, and the poor and slaves are drawn to a mixture of beliefs, including Mithras and Isis. So what's important to remember is that whatever emerges at the end of this process probably looks up like Christianity in all but name. The push for monotheism was happening in Roman philosophy even before Judeo-Christian influences. Mithraism, coming from the Zeo-Christian Pristia, who actually only had 2 official gods at the time compared to the Christians' 3, was considered by Constantine the Great at the same time as Christianity, although followers of Mithras tended to be more tolerant to imperial cults and polytheists than Christians did. In the end, a Roman politician would still ride the wave of religious fervor into the office and institute the one true God. The one true religion would now have to be codified because Romans all thought they were excellent lawyers. Committee will be formed, everybody will try to push for their local mythology to become canon. Isis will become Mithras' mother under a different name, keeping Mithras' old virgin birth myth on December 25th. Mithras will die and go to hell and come back like Gilgamesh. A nod to the existence of other divine forces will be encoded into some mystical and poorly defined Holy Spirit. He will absorb Hercules and maybe even become a son of a high god, because a lot of people still don't want to give up on Jupiter. But though with a lot of theological bullshit, it will still count as monotheism. A formal church will be created because Roman religious institutions already existed as a source of power in the state and couldn't be left empty as a power vacuum. They'll inherit the titles of pagan priests and officials, and they'll inherit the frescoes and statues and architecture, and they'll inherit the philosophy and endless bickering. What you end up with still looks like Christianity, the shining star of the pagan world. The Stoic philosophy, it still fades away as a style of thinking that is out of place in an increasingly insecure empire. The wave after wave of obscurantism washes over the empire. The rigid codification of what the one true religion is and isn't causes heresies and fractures. The clash with other religions brings about the inevitable preaching of a holy war. Unfortunately, you end up with a world looking very closely to what you have today. Minus the Crusades to Levant, they instead went to invade whatever rock Mithras sprang from. Catholic Church is most likely still called the Catholic Church. Holy Father is still called that. The big social religious issue of the day is, should priests sacrifice bulls? Sorry if you were looking for a brighter parallel universe, but the fact is that the contents of the Christian religion weren't the major influencing factor in this world. The ideas that religion pushes, such as, you have to believe what I believe, and the universe must be simple enough for me to understand it and feel inner peace, and after I die, good things will happen, and after you die, you'll have to pay for what you did to me. They were already there and waiting to find expression in human behavior. You really did think a lot about this, didn't you? Let's look at the final one, and maybe the most interesting one. Wow, something I'm qualified to answer. This is my job, and I'm paid to explain this. We would definitely not be the same. The massive church versus state religion fights wouldn't happen because Greek religion was completely woven into daily life. There would be no way to separate it from the state. Obviously drop all the hang-ups we've developed from our modern religions, probably to be replaced by the concern of religious pollution. People in antiquity do appear to have been favoring a particular god, and usually one cult version of one god that was relevant to your job or your position in society. However, it was considered extremely important not to neglect any gods entirely. There were a lot of stories about people getting the tar smited out of them for not worshipping a god. The Romans were even worried about failing to worship a god they hadn't identified yet, and they would tack a formula onto the end of some prayers that roughly went, and also any other god or goddesses in this place. This would make believing in one god fraught. First, people would think that it was just plain silly, like only believing in your favorite element on a periodic table or something like that. But after that, there's also this worry of retribution. A lot of ancient religion was based on the kind of agreement with the gods. So we'll celebrate this festival every year, and in return, you look kindly on us. Keep whatever it is you're the god of functioning, and maybe answer the occasional specific prayer. If someone didn't participate in the festival, they weren't keeping up their end of the bargain, and so the god wouldn't have to keep theirs. In mythology, we see stories of one person getting smited for this, but in real life, people are worried on a much larger scale. Church could not be separated from the state. If enough people in the state failed to propitiate the gods, the state as a whole could get backlash. The gods can't fail the crops or lose the war of one person at a time. Only worshipping one god insults all the others, and puts you and everyone else associated with you under threat. Technology would probably be fine. There are no reports of anyone going, "Those new siege weapons are going to bring the wrath of Ares down on our heads." They would probably be assumed to work with the blessing of the gods. And when your computer broke down, you'd likely take a small offering to the local shrine of whoever got jurisdiction over computers while you were there to hold with tech support, and possibly try to celebrate their festival better next year. Remember, you have to uphold your end of the bargain. So what do you guys think? Do you have anything more to add to the answers? If so, comment down below, because we're eager to know your thoughts on this. Also, if you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.